Grief has a strange way of changing time. Some days stretch endlessly, others vanish like breath on glass. For me, time stopped the morning my wife died. Her name was Lena Moore, and until her last day, I believed she was the most honest, gentle soul I'd ever known. We were married for 7 years, not perfect years, but good ones. She loved painting, gardening, and waking me up with the smell of coffee and humming old songs her mother used to sing. I still remember that final morning, how sunlight poured through the curtains, and she smiled at me over her cup, saying, "You should take the scenic route to work today. It's the kind of day that deserves to be remembered." It was her way of making the world poetic. I didn't know it would be the last time I'd ever see her alive. That afternoon, my phone rang. It was the hospital. "A car accident," they said. Instant. Just like that, my world collapsed. But grief is cruel. It doesn't end with death. Sometimes it only begins there. Because 2 weeks later, while cleaning her studio, I found a hidden diary. And inside, my wife told a story that made me question everything I thought I knew about her, and about the life we shared. It was hidden behind one of her canvases, the painting she'd finished just a week before she died. The diary was bound in worn leather, the edges burned slightly as if it had once survived fire. On the first page, in her elegant handwriting, were 6 words that chilled me. "If you're reading this, I'm already gone." Beneath it, her first entry, "Ethan, I'm sorry. I've lied to you for 7 years. Not about love, and that part was real, but about who I truly am. What I've done. What's coming." My throat went dry. I flipped the page. "You once asked me why I sometimes wake up crying. Why I stare at the rain as if it's whispering secrets. The truth is, I used to be someone else. Someone I buried before I met you. But the past doesn't stay buried. It's watching us. And if anything happens to me, don't call the police. Don't trust anyone. Just go to the old pier on Hollow Creek. You'll find the first truth there." The diary slipped from my hands. This wasn't the confession of an ordinary woman. It was a warning. Hollow Creek was a half-forgotten fishing town 2 hours away, the kind of place where fog moves like ghosts. I arrived at sunset, the pier half collapsed, waves licking the wooden posts like dark tongues. There was no one there, just the sound of gulls and wind. Then I noticed something under the third plank, a small metal box nailed shut. Inside, wrapped in plastic, was a flash drive and a single photograph. The photo was of Lena, younger, maybe 20, standing with 3 other people in front of a government building. One of them was a man I recognized instantly, Detective Adrian Cole, the lead investigator on her accident case. My stomach turned. I drove back home in silence, my mind spinning. Had it really been an accident? Or had she known something dangerous? When I plugged in the flash drive, it was encrypted. But the folder's title was clear, Project Seraph, File 03, LM. And suddenly I realized Lena hadn't just been an artist. She'd been someone running from something far greater. That night, I couldn't sleep. Every creak in the house felt like footsteps. Around 2 a.m., someone knocked on my door. 3 sharp taps, I froze. Through the peephole, I saw a man in a dark coat, soaked from rain, his face hidden beneath a hat. "Mr. Moore," he called. His voice was calm, controlled. "I'm here about your wife." Every instinct told me not to open that door. "Who are you?" I demanded. He slipped something under the door, a business card. No name, just an insignia, a white feather crossed by a blade. "I worked with her," he said. "And if you found the diary, we need to talk, before they find you." Then he was gone. I ran outside, but the street was empty. The only trace he'd left behind was a faint smell of burnt ozone, and the sound of a car engine fading into the night. The next morning, I looked around Lena's studio again. Her paintings had always been abstract, swirls of color, broken shapes, but now I saw patterns. Each canvas held coordinates hidden in the brushstrokes. I compared them to a map and realized something impossible. Every location matched a classified military site, decommissioned decades ago. One of them was in the woods outside Blackridge, a place locals called the Echo Station. That night, I packed Lena's diary, the flash drive, and her last painting. I didn't know what I was walking into. All I knew was this. My wife had died for a truth she was trying to protect, and I was going to finish what she started, even if it killed me. The road to Blackridge was narrow and silent, swallowed by fog and forest. I drove for hours, Lena's diary resting on the passenger seat like a heartbeat I couldn't silence. Every word she'd written echoed in my mind. Don't trust anyone. Go to the Echo station. By the time I reached the coordinates, the night had fully descended. The station wasn't much, just a skeletal structure of concrete and rusted gates, half-eaten by vines. The government had abandoned it years ago, but as I stepped inside, I noticed fresh tire tracks. Someone had been here recently. Inside, the air smelled of dust and machine oil. My flashlight flickered across old control panels and broken monitors. Then I saw it. On the far wall, beneath years of grime, a symbol painted in white. A feather crossed by a blade. The same insignia from the man's card. I was in the right place. Or the worst possible one. Ethan Moore, a voice said behind me. I spun, gun raised, one I'd taken from the glove compartment just in case. The man stepped into the light, tall, calm, the same one from the night before. Put the gun down, he said. You're not in danger, and not from me. I didn't move. Who are you? My name's Marcus Hale. I worked with your wife. You said that before, I replied, my voice shaking. Prove it. He reached into his coat slowly, pulling out a photograph of Lena standing beside him and 3 others in military gear. She wasn't just an artist, Ethan. She was an intelligence operative, deep cover. We all were. The project she uncovered, Seraph, it wasn't supposed to exist. I lowered the gun slightly. What was it? He hesitated. A program that weaponized empathy. Neural mapping through emotional bonding. They used relationships, love, trust, to extract secrets. Your wife was recruited to expose them, but she got too close. Too close? I asked. He looked at me with genuine regret. She fell in love with you. And that broke every rule they had. Marcus led me to an underground corridor. It stretched for miles beneath the station, lined with rooms sealed shut, filled with dust-covered equipment. This is where it began, he said, pointing to a glass chamber filled with faded documents. Seraph was designed to erase guilt, to create people who could commit anything, and still feel pure. Lena's diary had mentioned guilt more than once. I can still feel them watching when I sleep. The ones I couldn't save. She tried to shut it down, Marcus continued. But Cole, the detective who investigated her death, was part of it. When the operation collapsed, they made it look like an accident. I felt my knees weaken. She knew, I whispered. She knew they'd kill her. Marcus nodded. She also knew you'd find the diary. That's why she left you the map. He reached into his coat and handed me a small black drive. This is the missing half of what you found. Together, they exposed the entire Seraph network. But before I could respond, an explosion shook the tunnel. The lights flickered. Marcus cursed. They found us. We ran through the collapsing corridors, the walls groaning as smoke filled the air. I could hear footsteps, armed men moving closer. Go, Marcus shouted. I'll hold them off. No, he shoved me toward an exit door. She trusted you for a reason, Ethan. Don't waste that. Before I could protest, gunfire erupted behind us. Marcus fell. I escaped into the forest, choking on smoke and guilt. The drive burned in my pocket, the last proof of Lena's life and death. As I reached my car, a black SUV screeched into the road ahead, blocking my way. The driver stepped out. Detective Adrian Cole. He smiled, cold and patient. Going somewhere, Mr. Moore? They took me to a warehouse, empty, sterile, the air buzzing with fluorescent lights. Cole sat across from me, tapping his fingers on the table. You've been busy, he said. Your wife warned you not to play hero. I glared at him. You killed her, he smiled faintly. Killed? No. She made her choice. She betrayed us. She fell in love with you, the one variable we couldn't control. He leaned closer. But you can finish what she started. Give me the drives, Ethan, and you'll walk out alive. I met his eyes. You want them? Then come take them. His smirk faded. You think you're the first to try? You don't even know what she did at the end. He slid a file across the table, a single photograph clipped inside. It was Lena, standing beside Cole, smiling, and in the caption at the bottom, Agent L. Moore, Seraph lead operative. My world shattered again. The photo on the table felt like a bullet to my chest. Lena, my Lena, smiling beside the man who destroyed her. Cole's voice cut through my silence. She wasn't who you thought she was. None of it was real. The art, the house by the coast, even the anniversary trips. All of it was a cover. I looked up at him. "You're lying," he shrugged. "Then why did she sign her last report with your wedding date as the encryption key?" My breath caught. "What did you say?" "June 12th, 2021. That's how we decrypted her files." "Romantic, isn't it?" He stood, closing the file. "You see, Ethan, your wife didn't die protecting love. She died protecting the one secret she could never admit, that she loved her target. And with that, he left me alone, with nothing but that photograph and the sound of my own heart breaking. That night, I made my choice. Cole wanted the drives. Marcus had given me one before he died. The other I'd hidden inside Lena's locket. The same locket that now hung around my neck. If Cole thought I'd break, he didn't know me. When the guard brought food, I waited for his moment of distraction, then slammed the tray into his face and ran. Bullets tore through the air as I fled the warehouse, crashing through a side window into the rain-soaked night. I drove without direction and just away. The storm blurred everything. The world, my thoughts, the line between truth and memory. And then I saw it, a sign at the side of the road. St. Harlow Cemetery, 2 miles. That was where Lena was buried. Or at least that's what I'd been told. The cemetery lay in silence, the rain whispering over the stones. I walked between the graves until I found hers. Lena Moore, beloved wife, gone too soon. I knelt, tracing the name with my fingers. "Why didn't you trust me?" I whispered. Something glinted in the dirt. A small piece of metal half buried near the base of her tombstone. I dug it out. It was a key, engraved with the same feather and blade insignia, and tied to it with a red ribbon was a note. "If you're reading this, you found what they buried with me. Follow the key, Ethan. Don't believe the grave." Oh. My heart stopped. The grave wasn't real. She had planned everything, even her death. The key led me to the old Brackenridge lighthouse, abandoned years ago after the storm that wrecked half the coast. Inside, I found dust, broken glass, and a steel hatch beneath the floorboards. The key fit perfectly. A staircase spiraled down into darkness, leading to a hidden bunker beneath the ocean cliff. There, on a metal table, lay a series of journals, all marked with her initials. The walls were covered in maps, surveillance photos, and documents labeled Seraph Termination, Failed. And then I saw the last entry, written in her handwriting. "If you're reading this, it means they think I'm dead." I had to make them believe it. "Ethan, I never lied about loving you. I only lied about who I was and to protect you from becoming me." Tears blurred my vision. She was alive when she wrote this. The final line sent a chill through me. "Meet me at the place where we first said goodbye." That place was the train station, where we'd first met, years ago. A thunderstorm, a dropped umbrella, a moment that changed everything. Now it was deserted midnight rain again. I waited for hours, the city lights flickering in the distance. Then I heard footsteps. A woman stepped from the shadows, her hair shorter, her face thinner, but her eyes, the same eyes that once looked at me like I was home. "Lena," I whispered. She smiled sadly. "You weren't supposed to find me." I took a step closer. "You faked your death." I had to. Cole wanted the Seraph files. If he found me alive, he'd use you to get them. I swallowed hard. He already did. Her expression broke. "Then it's not over." Lightning flashed. The sound of a car engine echoed nearby. Cole's voice cut through the rain. "End of the line, Lena." The rain fell harder, like the sky itself wanted to drown out the sound of our reunion. Cole's men surrounded the station, flashlights cutting through the darkness. I pulled Lena behind a row of benches, my heart pounding like thunder. "I thought you were dead," I whispered. "I had to disappear," she said breathlessly. "The diary was the only way to lead you here, to the truth." "Then tell me now." She shook her head. "Not yet. Not until we're safe." She took my hand, that same familiar warmth, trembling but real. For a brief second, everything disappeared. The betrayal, the fear, the months of grief. It was just us again. Then the glass windows shattered. Gunfire. We ran. Bullets tore through the air, ricocheting off metal rails. I fired back blindly, just trying to buy us seconds. We dove through an emergency exit as Cole's voice echoed behind us. "You can't run forever, Lena. You belong to Seraph." Both of you." His words chased us long after the gunfire stopped. We drove all night. No destination, no plan. Just movement. Just escape. By dawn, the road led us to a small coastal town. Forgotten, gray, the kind of place where no one asked questions. Lena found an old cottage near the cliffs. "I used this as a fallback point during the operation," she said, unlocking the rusted door. Inside, everything smelled of salt and dust. But there were still traces of her everywhere. Sketches pinned to the wall, books with her handwriting in the margins, a half-finished painting of the ocean. "You kept all this?" I asked. "I kept what felt like me," she whispered, the part Seraph couldn't control. We sat together as the waves crashed below, the silence between us heavy and tender. Finally, I asked, "What was Seraph really doing, Lena?" She hesitated. "It started as emotional intelligence research. Neural empathy mapping. Understanding how love affects memory. But then they turned it into something darker." Her eyes glistened. "They wanted to erase love, to make people immune to it. Perfect soldiers. No guilt, no grief, no hesitation." I felt cold. "And you were one of them." "I was," she said softly. "Until I met you." That night, Lena opened a metal case she'd hidden under the floorboards. Inside were dozens of small crystal data chips, Seraph's records. She inserted one into her portable reader, and the screen flickered with images. Files of people crying, screaming, faces twisted by pain. Experiments. "This is what they did," she said, voice trembling. "They made us bond with targets emotionally, then wiped our memories clean. Over and over, until love became data." I stared at her. "And me?" "You were the only one they couldn't erase," she whispered. My breath caught. "You mean, you tried to forget me?" She nodded, tears spilling down her cheeks. "Twice, they wiped me twice. But when I saw you again, the way you smiled, the way you said my name, something in me remembered. That's when I knew the system was broken. Love survived." She looked up at me, eyes glistening. "They killed me for that." I reached for her, pulling her close, her heartbeat frantic against my chest. "Then we'll finish what you started," I said. "We'll expose them." We spent days piecing together the files, decrypting data, and preparing to send it to the press. Lena worked tirelessly, though I could see the exhaustion in her eyes and the fear. On the 5th morning, I woke to find her gone. The door was open, the cold wind whipping through the room. Her locket, the one I'd carried for months, was missing from the nightstand. I found a note on the table. "Ethan, forgive me. They found us. Don't come after me." And I ran outside, but the road was empty. Within hours, I saw the black SUVs returning, Cole's men scanning the cliffs. They'd taken her, again, and this time, I wasn't letting them win. The coordinates from the last decrypted file led me to an offshore platform, a decommissioned research base. It took me 2 days to reach it by boat. The sea was rough, the storm relentless, but anger and love fueled me more than fear ever could. When I arrived, I saw them, guards patrolling, drones circling the perimeter. And inside, through a fogged glass window, Lena, strapped to a neural chair, electrodes running from her temples. They were erasing her again. I broke in through the maintenance deck, taking down 2 guards silently. My hands shook, but I didn't stop. Inside the chamber, Cole stood over her. "You had your chance, Lena. The system doesn't tolerate weakness." "Then you don't understand love," she said faintly. I fired. The bullet tore through the glass wall. Cole staggered back. I ran to Lena, ripping off the wires. "I've got you." She looked at me, barely conscious, and whispered, "It's not just me they want. It's what's inside me. The final code." Her eyes fluttered, her breath shallow. "Promise me, Ethan, if I don't make it—" "Don't say that," she smiled weakly. "Then promise you'll finish it. And Seraph, for both of us." And before I could answer, the alarms blared. Cole's voice echoed through the speakers. "You think you can save her?" "She's already gone!" The alarms screamed through the platform. Red lights flashed over the metal walls, and the sea raged outside. Lena's body trembled in my arms. "They put the code in me," she whispered. "Seraph isn't a file anymore, and it's biological." "It's me. What are you talking about?" I asked. Her fingers gripped my shirt weakly. "My memories, my emotions, and they used me as the final prototype. The diary was just breadcrumbs, Ethan. The truth isn't written down. It's in me. Cole's men were closing in. I could hear their boots pounding on the metal stairs. Then we'll get you out, I said. We'll destroy Seraph together. She smiled through her tears. If you destroy Seraph, you destroy me too. We made it to the control deck, bullets sparking off the steel walls. Cole appeared from the shadows, blood on his shoulder, rage in his eyes. Give her to me, Ethan, he shouted. You don't know what you're carrying. I know enough, I said. He pointed his gun at Lena. She's not your wife anymore. She's a weapon, one that can rewrite memory itself. She doesn't even remember the things she's done. Lena lifted her head weakly. You made me this, Adrian. You made me forget the people I loved. But love always comes back, Cole sneered. You think love will save you? It's what got you killed. Before he could fire, I pulled the trigger. The shot echoed like thunder. Cole fell, finally silent. But the victory didn't feel like one. The main console flickered, lines of code streaming across the screens. The Seraph system was rebooting automatically, using Lena's neural signature. Ethan, she said softly, the only way to stop it is to cut the link. Permanently. What does that mean? I asked, though I already knew. You have to let me go. We reached the reactor chamber and the core of the entire system. Sparks rained down from the ceiling, water flooding the lower decks. She touched the console and her veins began to glow faintly, the same electric blue as the Seraph interface. Lena, stop, she smiled faintly. Do you remember our wedding night? You said love was the only thing in this world worth dying for. You were right, I grabbed her hand. Then live for it. Live for me. Her eyes filled with tears. If I live, Seraph lives too. They'll find me, use me again, and you'll lose me anyway. But if I end it here, they lose everything. She leaned close, pressing her forehead against mine. I remember now. The diary? The letters. Everything. I never stopped loving you, Ethan. And then she pressed the command. The system began to overload, alarms screaming, light bursting from the core like lightning. I screamed her name, but she only smiled through the chaos. Find me in the memories, Ethan. That's where I'll always be. Then the light consumed her. When I woke, the platform was in ruins, half sunk into the ocean. Lena was gone. The Seraph system had collapsed. Every server, every data stream wiped clean. I barely made it back to shore, exhausted, burned, and broken. For weeks, I drifted between sleep and waking, haunted by flashes of her voice. Then one day I found something in my pocket, her locket. Inside was a folded scrap of paper I'd never seen before. If you're reading this, it means I kept my promise. I found a way to save you. Don't grieve the past. It remembers us better than we remember it. L. That was when I realized what she'd meant. She hadn't died completely. Her memories, the ones tied to me, had survived somewhere, scattered through the remains of the Seraph data fragments. Months later, I rebuilt her studio by the sea, the one she'd loved most. I opened her diary again, tracing the words she'd written in invisible ink. Under the light, new lines appeared, ones I'd never noticed before. If love is data, then I choose to live inside you. Every glance, every breath, it's all memory. And memory never truly dies. I closed the diary, looking out at the waves. The world believed Lena Moore died in that explosion. Maybe they were right. But some nights when the wind moves just right, I hear her voice in the static of the radio, whispering the same words she once wrote to me. Love is the only truth worth dying to protect. And I whisper back into the night. Then I'll keep protecting it. For both of us. 6 months after the explosion, I'd stopped expecting miracles. I spent my days repairing boats on the dock, my nights alone in the house by the sea. Then one evening, while tuning an old shortwave radio, I heard it, a faint hum, like breathing through static. Then a whisper. Ethan. The room froze around me. That voice. Soft, tremulous, hers. I twisted the dial. Lena! The memory holds... And then silence. The rational part of me screamed that it was interference, a trick of grief. But the heart doesn't argue in logic. It argues in hope. I started recording the signal. Every night it came back, always at the same frequency, always saying fragments of the same phrase. Find me where the light began. I returned to the ruins of the Seraph facility, what was left of it above the tide. Most of it had sunk, but a few servers remained, corroded and half dead. Using what power I could salvage, I connected my laptop and began scanning the data fragments. Lines of corrupted code scrolled across the screen, random, meaningless, until the algorithm flagged a recurring pattern. It wasn't data. It was language. Hidden inside the damaged files was an echo, neural sequences mapped in Lena's memory signature. Bits of her consciousness had survived. She hadn't just said, "Find me." She had left herself behind. Weeks passed as I worked on rebuilding the code. Every recovered fragment was like opening an old letter from her. Images, words, sounds. Our laughter on the beach, her painting under moonlight, the warmth of her hands. But the fragments were incomplete, fading as soon as they appeared. Until one night I pieced together a full sentence. "Ethan, if you find this..." I found a way to stay. I froze. Tears blurred my vision. Her voice clear, gentle, alive. I realized then, Lena had uploaded the emotional architecture of her mind into the system seconds before it collapsed. She'd turned her love into an algorithm, one that refused to die. She'd given me one last version of herself. I built a small simulation chamber in the studio, a neural interface connecting my brain to the Seraph echo. When I powered it on, the air shimmered, and there she was. Not flesh and blood, but light. A digital apparition, her outline flickering in soft blue. Yet when she smiled, it was her. "Ethan," she said. I couldn't speak. "You shouldn't have come back," she whispered. "The system isn't stable." "I had to," I said. "You told me to find you where the light began." Her expression softened. "That was our first morning together. The sunrise after our wedding. You said the light looked like hope." She reached out, and for a moment our fingers touched through the holographic static. "I can't stay long," she said. "The data is decaying. But I needed to see you one last time." "Then stay," I begged. "We'll find a way." She shook her head gently. "We already did. You found me. That was the way." The simulation began to collapse, pixels breaking apart into light. "Lena!" I shouted. She smiled through the distortion. "You gave me more than they ever could. A memory that loved back." The room filled with her voice, fading and echoing. "Every sunrise, I'll be there. Every wave, every color, it's me. You don't have to remember how to love me. Just love. That's enough." And then she was gone. The screen went dark. I sat there for hours, the only sound the crash of the sea against the cliffs. Finally, I opened her diary one last time. On the inside cover, a line had appeared. New, written in faint ink that hadn't been there before. The truth I died protecting wasn't about Seraph. It was about love, that even death can't erase what's written in the heart. I closed the book and whispered into the quiet, "Good night, Lena." The horizon began to glow with dawn, the same golden light we'd once watched together. And for the first time in months, I felt her there, not as a ghost, not as data, but as the warmth behind my heartbeat. Years later, people still talk about the fall of Project Seraph, the scandal, the lost data, the mystery of the vanished operatives. They don't know the truth, that the final piece of the system isn't buried under the sea. It's inside the art Lena left behind, the paintings that shift color under morning light, coated with emotional frequencies. They hum when the sun rises. Sometimes when I stand before them, I swear I hear her laugh. She kept her promise. She lived on in the memory, and so did I.